Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be reacting to two different film openings as directors. So you can see in the first two shots there, we had a panning shot. We actually had to learn how exactly to do that with the equipment we had. So I was quite proud that we managed to pull it off, actually. So you can actually see in this opening, it was the first time we'd ever used a Panasonic Lumix 1 camera. Yeah, and because it was a new camera, we actually had to learn how to tweak the settings to make it match. And in the end, we got a very bad result. Video ended up very squared, very, I don't know what the exact resolution was, but it was very bad. We had to rescale the whole thing in the editing software to make it look better. But still, we learned a lot about how to use the camera in that process. So you can see in this shot that once the protagonist or the villain or the other character leaves, the camera stays on the protagonist, which is an editing technique which we learned is used commonly to signify or to show the viewer who the protagonist is. So this is something we really wanted to utilize in our coursework. You can also hear that song is a remake of Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones, which we had to remake, which was actually quite challenging and involved quite a lot of, I guess, new techniques, I guess, when it came to production and songwriting.
So, if we assume everything's gonna go to plan, alright? I'm gonna be out there by 6 sharp, right? And that's when I need you to be waiting for me at the parking lot, okay? Hey.
So I don't know if it's too obvious, but we did actually try to apply the uses and gratifications theory by featuring a teen protagonist. This was because mainly our target audience was teen. However, we did have a secondary audience of more, I guess, mature viewers. So we tried to make the other character, who was supposed to be the villain, present a little bit more mature.
Are you even listening to me? Yeah.
So all the audio for this cut was actually recorded using a external microphone, which was quite complicated to set up. It was another skill we had to develop. We had to know where to place it, how to configure it to get the best possible audio quality. Although it didn't end up very well in the result, again, we did learn a lot just from the process. Here you can actually see something else we learned while filming this, is that filming at night was a very bad idea. Especially if you had no lights to, light the scene. So here you can see another thing we had to learn how to do, which was create our own idents with editing software that, well, I personally didn't know how to use. So that was another huge, I guess, challenge I had to overcome. I know Eduardo, the guy who directed this with me, he made his own ident with a software called Blender, which he already had experience in, which is why I think it turned out a little better than mine, but, you know, that's just my opinion. So actually, before we continue, I thought it was worth mentioning that this film opening you're seeing is almost completely different to a different one we did, where the cast is completely different and some of the story elements were different. This is because after repitching it to our media studies teacher, we got some feedback on some technical areas we could have improved on, like the mise en scène and the editing. So we took those comments to heart and really made sure that this time we were, I guess, putting our best foot forward and really controlling these elements. You can also see that these titles are made of custom fonts, and to do that we actually had to figure out how to download custom fonts onto a MacBook and then onto Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve, which was a little more complicated than it probably should have been, but still, you know, we did it. And I was around when Jesus Christ had a moment of doubt.
Okay. One more.
Oh, you can see the titles. We actually had to look into and research like exactly what order the titles came in, so you could create this film opening as accurate and faithful to an original as possible. So the inspiration for this scene was actually, we had learned a lot about different angles and having a lot of shot variety. So we shot a lot of different scenes in the church, but also we had to learn what kind of shots worked and how we could use them. So that was another thing. But yeah, we definitely wanted to use a lot of shot variety here, as we didn't in the last one, and we learned that was a very good thing to have in general.
After this, I'm done.
No, you're not. So you can see here in the church scene, unlike the last, or I guess the first time we tried to record this opening, this time we learned to keep the mise en scène consistent, and we actually reminded the protagonist, the guy who's playing the protagonist, Matt, to come in the same clothes that we'd recorded the first scene in, which I think greatly improved the final product, or the final cut.